boys and girls, Mrs. Torrey here, and today I'm going to teach you how to use a graphic organizer and how to take notes to write a research report about the Arctic animal that you chose. So first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to read you a little section from the Arctic about walruses. Animals such as the walrus live in the Arctic Ocean. These huge creatures love the icy water and can swim around for a long period of time. Walruses have adapted to living in the Arctic Ocean by storing blubber under their skin. Blubber prevents heat from escaping from their bodies. Walruses also have long teeth called tusks, which they use almost like arms to pull themselves out of the water and onto the ice. Walruses eat things like clams, shrimp, crabs, and even seal carcasses when necessary. So I just read you a little information about the Arctic animal that I'm researching called the walrus. So you might have chosen a different animal, and you can either use the information that Mr. Vanderwerf read aloud during the Arctic habitat section, or you can go on Pebble Go Animals or any other way to research the animal that you chose that lives in the Arctic. So let's take a look at this. In your packet, you have a graphic organizer that you can fill out about your animal also. So the first part says, what is the name of your Arctic animal? So my Arctic animal is the walrus. Try and choose an animal that's not the walrus so that you can try this on your own. So I'm going to go ahead and write walrus right here. What does your animal eat? So let's think back. It says that my animal eats clams, shrimp, crab, and even seal carcasses. Now the key to a graphic organizer is that the graphic organizer is just a place to organize your thoughts, not a place to write full sentences. So I like to use something called a dash. And what I do with that little dash is that I just write down ideas so that when I'm going to write my full report, I have all of my ideas nicely organized. So the first thing that I read out loud that the walrus likes to eat is clams. So I put a dash and I'm just going to write clams. I'm not going to write the walrus likes to eat clams because I'm going to write that in my report, not my organizer. Something else that the walrus likes to eat was shrimp. So another dash, and then I write shrimp. Something else that the walrus likes to eat, crabs. So I'm just thinking of the ideas that I want to write in my report, and I'm putting those ideas down in my organizer. Okay, the next one says, what can your animal do? What can the walrus do? So I know that the walrus can swim for a really long time, but I don't want to write that full sentence. So I'm going to write swim for long periods. Not a full sentence, just my idea so that I can take this idea and then turn it into a full sentence for my report. Something else that the walrus can do is use its tusks to pull itself out of the water. So I'm going to write tusks out of water. That way, I know when I look at that idea, tusks out of water, I can change that into a full sentence when I go to write my research report. For example, that sentence would say, a walrus uses its tusks to pull itself out of the water. This is just that thought to help organize my ideas so it's there when I write my report. The next question says, what does your animal have? So that's like, what do you see on its body, or what does it have? So I know that a walrus, we just wrote about it, we wrote tusks. I'm not going to write a full sentence. I'm just going to write tusks. But when I write it as a full sentence, I might write a walrus has tusks. Something else, a walrus has blubber. And when I write that as a full sentence, I might say a walrus has blubber to help keep it warm. Where does your animal live? The walrus lives in the Arctic Ocean. I'm not going to write the full sentence on my organizer. I'm just going to write Arctic Ocean. So right here, boys and girls, I'm going to show you how to take your ideas and turn them into full sentences for your report. So if you look in the next part of your packet for tomorrow, the section is to take the ideas on your graphic organizer and turn them into a book report about your Arctic animal. So one of the pages in your report says, the has. On this line right here, I'm going to write my animal. So I'm going to write the walrus. Let's read this sentence. The walrus has So I'm going to have my book out, and then I'm going to go back to my graphic organizer. The walrus has. What does your animal have? I wrote down tusks and blubber. How can I take those two ideas and turn them into full sentences for my report? So this says tusks. I'm going to think back to the walrus. The walrus has tusks to pull itself out of the water. Now I've taken that idea of tusks and turned it into a full sentence. So since I've used tusks, I can cross that out. My next section, what else does the walrus have? The walrus has blubber. And we know that blubber helps the heat from escaping from their bodies. The walrus has tusks to pull itself out of the water. It has blubber to stay warm. And I've used blubber, and I put blubber in a complete sentence, so now I can cross it off of my graphic organizer. Let's read this section of our report now about what the walrus has. The walrus has tusks to pull itself out of the water. It has blubber to stay warm. So boys and girls, now you try to use your graphic organizer and pick one of the animals that Mr. Vanderwerf read aloud about the Arctic habitat. Have fun.